Welcome to the Eat to Live podcast. Dad, I can't believe it. This is season 2, which means we just did 10 full episodes about a healthy lifestyle. Dr. Fuhrman, thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure to be here. And thanks for sharing your time with us.
He's here all the time, as he is my co-host. So, Dad, how are you doing today? Tell me.
I'm having lots of fun. It's a great
Really?
time. I love the summer. It's a great time of year.
Why is that?
Well, you can do so much. You can swim, go to the beach, the water's warm. But I also like that I'm picking food off my trees and eating them. I get such a kick out of I'm eating peaches and figs and nectarines right off the tree without having to go to a store. And it just when you grow it yourself, there's something just great about that. And especially, you can't eat a fig unless you've eaten figs. You can't appreciate a fig unless you've eaten a fig off your own fig tree where it's ripened on the tree. Because figs don't taste good if they pick them hard and ripen in the store. So everybody should have their own fig tree. Even if they...
Is that your stay-at-home order?
Yes,
get your own fig tree?
Even if they live in northern climates, they could plant it in a pot. They can put the pot on a dolly. It's called a plant dolly.
Mm-hmm.
And they can wheel it in the garage or in a shed in the wintertime.
You used to do that when we lived in New Jersey.
Right. So figs are just fun. And you can't blow growing a fig tree. It's so easy to grow.
This is hilarious to me because you have wanted your own fig trees flourishing for as long as I can remember. I was literally 10 years old watching you build this. Do you remember that greenhouse in the middle of our property, the white thing? And you were the whole point of that greenhouse was to get fig trees.
Yeah, and it failed. It didn't work.
Every year it failed, and you would try again and again.
And then I wrapped the fig trees in burlap, and then I put garbage pails over them, and I buried the garbage pail in dirt, and I did everything, and they still died down until I realized the system of those big pots with dollies where you wheeled it in. Because I tried to make it grow in the wintertime.
That was later. Yes, that worked much better.
Later. But now in San Diego, the difference is I can grow different varieties of figs that ripen different times of the year.
Wow.
And I even know the terminology, for a breba fig. You know what a breba fig means? Nobody knows that word.
No, I actually do not know.
It grows on the hardwood, last year's wood. So it grows earlier, so you can pick it in May or June. And then you have the new figs that grow on the new growth. And those are the main fig crop that now is ripe this time of year.
Oh, wow.
And so what I'm enjoying is I have so many giant ripe figs of different styles that I can feed them to all the guests. I can give them away to neighbors.
You're growing that many that you're willing to give them up.
Yeah, I love to grow enough that I could share with other people and say, I could give it to my neighbor and say, here's a tremendous gift. But you got to taste this great fig. And they go, wow. That's nice of you.
I was a recipient of your tremendous gift.
I gave you a box of figs.
Yes,
remember that?
3 for me and 3 for Jacob, my boyfriend.
Right.
And
they were the size of apples.
They were the size of my head. Yeah. So when I was eating one of these figs, I was like, okay, am I going to eat a full one? Am I hungry enough? And I started eating it, and I was low-key thinking it was a full meal because it was so big. It was never ending. I had to actually stop eating it, save half for later.
Really?
But it was, it was delicious. It was the green one. What type of fig is that?
Those are called jelly figs.
It was like jelly on the inside. Do people make jelly from that fig? Could I just mash it up, muddle it?
Oh, yeah. They're just great.
I should do that. That sounds
And
good.
also, there's a science to when you have to pick the fig. If you pick it too early, it's not as sweet. But if you leave it on the tree too long, it gets alcohol and it attracts insects like ants and fig beetles. So you got to get it just at the right spot.
Right.
So you were asking me, what am I into? What do I like this time of year? And I'm just saying all the things I'm doing. But also, I'm always what's in season? What am I growing? I'm eating fresh corn, fresh tomatoes, pepper. I'm growing, it's always that's a lot of fun.
Oh, when I was at the retreat last week, I was kind of laughing. I was watching you run around in your farming gear. So you're decked out, covered from the sun. You have this big straw hat and you have your whole golf cart with all your tools in the back that you're running around doing it. And you looked like you were having the time of your life. Can you confirm?
Yes, I was busy last week putting in some exotic mango trees and some new trees. And when I do that, I made a white tent out of a pillowcase, out of a sheet over the tree, so it doesn't get too much sun when they're baby plants.
Oh, wow.
And then as the plant gets bigger, I cut back on the amount of coverage and let the sun gradually, the tree gradually accommodate the sunshine.
How do you know what to do? Do you research this stuff or?
No, it's just experience of trying to plant trees in the past, and they don't do well the first year, and they're not growing after you. So I learned things to do to make them do better.
You're a big trial and error guy.
Yeah, I found a lot of new tricks. And the other thing is when you get it from a pot, don't put the pot in the ground. Get your fingers in there and separate the roots that are wrapped in tight and get some of the dirt away and pull the roots out into strands and make it go out from the tree. People are afraid to touch the roots. So if I unwrap the roots in the pot, I can and then put in really good compost and a little bit of, I use the whole good type of soil, make my own composted manure and things. But anyway, put in really good soil around them. And then you can plant that new soil So you're not using the old soil the plant was potted in. You're spreading some of that away, putting in higher quality soil than the person who sold you the tree put in there, because you can make higher quality soil, and pulling the roots out and planting it with some of the roots spread, falling from the pot. So don't worry about knocking dirt off the soil. And then you get that, and then you water it heavily. And then I put the covering over it. So I do all these little tricks to make sure the plant takes off and doesn't starts to go immediately and start to grow fast.
You're a gardening expert, but if I just wanted to start with a couple of herbs and stuff, is that easier or harder than all these trees?
Pretty easy, but I just want to emphasize that growing fig trees are really easy, because you can they grow and you can't blow it. You overwater them, you underwater them, they survive. You can just about take a cutting off a tree and put it in the dirt and it'll grow. It grows so easily.
And it's like a dessert, like a huge dessert right here that you could just pick off your tree at any time.
Yeah, it's great. And the other tree I recommend people buy are the Mayway kumquat trees. Those little round kumquats. You can grow them in your house. They smell beautifully. They look beautifully. They can do the same thing with the fig trees.
Right in your house.
Well, the skin of the citrus fruit has these are edible skins. And the Nigiri kumquats, the oblong ones that are shaped like an egg, they taste bitter and sour. But these Meiwa kumquats are round, perfectly round, and they're sweet. And you eat the skin.
Wow.
And when you eat the skin and the seed, you get more anti-cancer elements. You get those lemonines. You get nutrients that protect against skin cancer without exposing yourself to the
pesticides, right?
Well, not pesticides, but there are chemicals that could promote cancer in the skin in grapefruits.
Really?
Natural grapefruits,
really?
Like orangeline. Yeah. So there's no you have these beneficial compounds without the negative compounds. They're much healthier. So they're really a healthy citrus you can eat the skin of. It's super healthy for you.
Mayway kumquats.
Mayway. So I make people, you can't buy them in stores. So even people who live in the East Coast or northern climates, make it in a pot, grow it in your living room. It's a beautiful decorative plant.
Oh my gosh, I may take you up on that.
I have like 15 of them planted.
Do you want to give me one?
I can give you one, yeah.
Perfect. It's actually a shame, I think, because I've been moving so much that I haven't invested time into getting my own fruit trees or herbs or any of this stuff.
Well, you don't need it. You just go to my house and get it.
That's true. Keep bringing me gifts.
Yeah, they can just come over, pick what you want.
So today we're going to talk about, more than fruit trees, although I love talking about fruit trees, is being unrestricted. What I like to call, what you call moderate caloric restriction, but my take on that is moderate caloric restriction is not strict.
Right.
And that's really kind of a weird, doesn't make sense statement that I really want to let sink in. Moderate caloric restriction is not strict. It's not hard. It's not to make you deprived of anything.
You don't have to deprive yourself and suffer.
No.
And eat thimble-sized portions of food and be hungry all the time to moderately caloric restrict.
Not at all.
But can I just say for people who don't know this that much, to know these important 5 words.
Okay.
Because these 5 words are the foundational principles of a nutritarian diet. That everybody knowing what a nutritarian diet is has to know these 5 words.
I'm acting like I don't know them, but take it away.
It is. And this is the factor that leads to maximizing human longevity and the only proven methodology to slow the aging process. And that is moderate caloric restriction in the context of micronutrient excellence, or with micronutrient excellence. Moderate caloric restriction wrapped up with micronutrient or nutritional excellence.
Okay, got it. So in layman's terms, I'm going to say that in a different way. When you eat the right foods that are not calorie dense and you actually chase nutrient dense foods like fruits, vegetables, legumes, all this good stuff, that's where the magic happens?
That's right. It's that certain foods have effect on the appestat and the appetite. Well, I'll discuss the difference in that. The appetite is how much food you desire to eat. The appestat is the controller in your brain that tells your body how much to control your appetite. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, so there's some foods that make you feel satisfied and tell you to eat less food. And then, so there's 3 things. Number one, the appestat is predominantly controlled by a breakdown product that comes from fibers. And the more variety of plant fibers you consume, and if your fiber content is high enough with enough fiber variety, it naturally suppresses the appetite. So that's one thing.
Can I just tell you, I've experienced that firsthand, and it's so funny. I hate doing what my parents said, at least I did growing up. Yeah. And I remember I've been in situations where, so growing up, I would eat healthy. And then when I'm with my friends, I kind of didn't care. I was fit. I did athletics, all this stuff. I wanted to taste for what all my friends were eating. But then as I got older and became a little more strict with nutrition in mind, unstrict, but I started choosing foods that had a lot of micronutrients, foods that you always told me were really good for you.
Right.
So I started eating way more of them by choice. And I remember to this day, I was out with my friends. We were at a seafood restaurant and there was nothing nutrient rich, nothing with a lot of fiber, leafy greens. It was like bread, seafood, and chips. And that was your only option. And I was like freaking out. I was actually freaking out because I don't find myself disciplined in the food area at all. I actually eat large quantities of food. I eat super large quantities, love it, love the taste. I'm kind of a foodie. I want a little bit of sweet. I want a little bit of sour. I want a little bit of rich vegetables and a cream sauce made from cashews. So I was trying to eat a little bit of bread and fill up, and it wasn't making me satisfied. And that was enough to make me angry.
Yeah, you can never get satisfied.
No, and I guess, so that helps when I'm coaching people and talking to them about finding satisfaction in what you eat. I'm immensely satisfied.
Well, not only that, is that also that when just a couple more things here, is that these foods that have a low caloric density, or a moderate caloric density, but all their calories are not bioaccessible to the body. So they come into your body with a certain amount of calories, and they hit your apostat from nerves in your digestive tract going up to the brain, plus the fiber signals of nutrients and calories come to the brain. And your brain says, you just consumed 400 calories. You're satisfied. But 400 calories never really enter the body because all those calories are not biologically accessible. For example, let's say you ate some beans.
Yeah.
Beans have the carbohydrate calories that come in. You had 200 calories that came into your body, and your brain registered that you just ate 200 calories, so you had enough food, but only winds up when you've digested, only 160 calories really get digested. The other calories pass through you and just go right through into the toilet bowl because some of those beans are resistant to enzymatic degradation. And the same thing is true with nuts and seeds. You just took 200 calories from nuts in? Well, actually, people are supposed to eat like at least a half an ounce of nuts and seeds with each meal. An ounce of nuts and seeds is about 160, 170 calories. So it's supposed to be having like 75 to 80 calories of nuts and seeds with a meal. That's a tablespoon of ground flax seeds, chia seeds, or hemp seeds, or that's about 7 or 8 walnut halves, let's say, with each meal, right?
Yeah.
And those 80 calories from the tablespoon of seeds, half an ounce, or the 7 walnut halves, those 80 calories, right? You registers that you ate 80 calories. Those 80 calories facilitate the absorption of phytochemicals that are anti-angiogenic in the food you ate. So it has anti-fat storage effects because you had that 80 calories of a fatty food like nuts and seeds. But the 80 calories of nuts and seeds don't go into the body because you have these sterols and stanols that bind fat so powerful that they carry the fat out into the blood, out into the toilet. So you only got about 60 calories in, but you still were able to absorb.
And think you had 80.
And you feel you had 80.
Mm-hmm.
Your apostat was turned down by 80.
Mm-hmm.
But now you absorbed more of the 20 to 50 times as much of the anti-cancer phytochemicals because you had the nuts and seeds with the meal.
Right.
And now those phytochemicals you absorbed have anti-angiogenic effects, which further retard fat storage.
Wow.
So you absorb more anti-fat substances because you know that, we talk about the anti-angiogenic properties of mushrooms, for example.
Right.
Where they say, no way, Jose, I'm not letting you put fat on your body because angiogenesis is the growth of blood vessels that the body needs to grow fat. And
stops it in its tracks.
Right. It prevents fat from growing. So it's not, so now a person could be eating like less calories, but they can't lose weight.
Right.
Or they're eating less calories and they're gaining weight. But now they're eating more calories, losing weight, and more calories, and then they would never gain weight, even though they overeat a little bit because they're not going to gain weight because they have all the anti-angiogenic foods. And the seeds themselves have anti-angiogenic factors, as well as accelerating the absorption of anti-angiogenic factors from other foods, like from vegetables and things. But of course,
I always tell people about that point in specific. You said it with a lot of science, and I do think that's really cool that they actually have substances that halt the fat from attaching to your body and helps us reverse disease. But also the good fats, essentially, the fats in nuts and seeds and all that stuff, help the bad fats slide off our body, like literally.
That's right. And the good fats actually suck fat out of the bloodstream.
Really?
Into the digestive tract. Because I'm saying these these fibers, these sterol stanels that bind fat in the gut, they are so strong of a fat magnet that they suck the oxidized LDL out of the bloodstream and pull it into the digestive tract. So now you have more bad cholesterol in the toilet, in your stool,
Right.
and less in your bloodstream. So that's why they lower
Cool.
cholesterol. They suck the oxidized LDL, meaning that they're sucking an oxidized compounds, free radicals. They're aiding the body's detoxification channels because they're detoxifying you as they remove oxidized LDL, because that ages you. The oxidation ages you.
I was just telling people about this concept of free radicals because not everyone knows this. And I was talking to Jacob about it actually. And so I was explaining to him what a free radical is. But basically, a free radical is we all have cells and the cells go through stress or something happens and an electron pops off. And there will be a free radical that kind of pops off in your body. And then the nutrients and micronutrients and antioxidants go throughout our body and just repair them, stick them back onto the cells, right?
Whoa. That's like a cartoon version. That's like so simple.
I do.
Not really. I mean,
I do try to cartoon
like
everything. I'm like, they all have like this like way. I'm like, it's that easy. Like all these vegetables are just popping them back on. Fixing you.
Okay. The body actually uses free radicals.
Thank you. Should I be a cartoonist?
Yeah, they're called reactive oxygen species.
Okay.
The primary free radical or oxygen, but when oxygen has it loses one electron. So in its outermost shell, instead of having 8 electrons, it has 7. So it's seeking an electron. It's seeking an electron, so it's destructive. It's destructive to things. It can destroy and break things down because it's so powerfully seeking an electron off anything it hits.
Is this like the beginning of disease or a health problem?
It ages you, but the body utilizes free reactive oxygen species as a garbage compactor in the Golgi apparatus to break up garbage and get it out of the body. So free radical production is a corrective and right-directed activity of the body. But when too much free radicals are produced, when we don't control those free radicals, when they escape the confines of where they're supposed to be in the Golgi apparatus and the endoplasmic reticulum, if they're starting to lose their places in the cell because they're not being controlled, and you have to eat enough antioxidants so the free radicals stay where they're supposed to stay in the little confined area,
right?
And they don't start getting all over the place.
That's the natural way.
And that's what you were saying with this cartoon, where you were saying they're flying around, banging into everything. But yeah,
we're just going to repair them.
Yeah, so we're going to prevent them from escaping their confines where they're supposed to be. And that's why you need constant exposure to antioxidants to prevent free radicals from escaping the areas where they're supposed to be working.
That's kind of always the way we were supposed to eat, with antioxidants in mind.
That's correct.
That's why if you don't eat the nutrient-rich foods to give you that environment of micronutrient excellence that you were talking about with the 5 words, we're in big trouble, right?
Yes, and also, see, because the part of this Nutritarian uniqueness of the Nutritarian program is we talk about toxicosis, the buildup of toxins. And one of those main toxins is what we're talking about now, reactive oxygen species. So we have waste products from the food we eat. We're coming from the outside world. And we have waste products that are the byproducts of cellular metabolism that doesn't have enough antioxidants to control them, and they get all mixed together, and the people become toxic or inflammatory prone because they have a combination of external toxins and internally derived toxins. Now, the extra degree of inflammation. Yeah, now it doesn't just age us; it increases our appetite. It makes us become It increases overeating behavior because now we're wiped out and fatigued all the time, and we need to overstimulate the body with calories to keep our energy up. Because when the toxins start to get in our bloodstream, circulate for removal, and you feel wasted, you feel wiped out, and you don't like the way you feel. Yeah. So you have to keep eating food all day, all night. You got, the minute you're done with a meal, an hour later, you don't feel well, you got to eat again. So one of the things we talk about in a Nutritarian diet is that roller coaster that occurs with detox, and I call it toxic hunger, because people that aren't eating a diet that's clean enough have to overconsume calories just to feel normal.
Yeah.
So the toxins are wrapped up with with the right foods.
That's where I really want to get this message out there, because whenever I hear you talk about, and I'm happy we're having this conversation, whenever I hear you say the word calorie restriction, caloric restriction, I want to be like, I'm not restricted, because I feel so good and happy and lucky to be eating this way. And I want to tell everyone that even when they're feeling bad while they're switching to this diet, or when they're making healthier food choices, or when they refuse to make healthier food choices, that I don't feel deprived. I don't feel like I'm not eating all the foods I've ever dreamed of.
As much as you feel like it, with a variety of things, it tastes great.
It's so good and better. I personally, that I have these clean taste buds and I have these desires to have a wide variety of natural fruits and vegetables, I truly don't want the other stuff because I've been in those situations where it makes me feel bad. So now I associate those foods with negative feelings, as some people might associate good foods with negative feelings if they didn't detox, if they didn't give themselves that chance.
When I was younger, I switched into this way of eating too. And I have to say, it took me years to not desire those foods that people desire, because I desired them too when I was younger.
Yeah. People don't get that. You're not perfect either.
Yeah. And that it took me years of like eating this way to really feel, I don't even miss those things. I like my foods better. I like my ice cream better than conventional ice cream now. I don't have to do that.
I totally feel that.
I put a little real vanilla bean powder in, and like a little macadamia nuts, and a little fresh banana, and whip it up with a little bit of in the soy milk, and then put it in the like ice cream maker. It fluffs it up. It's like incredible.
I got really used to the idea of guilt-free foods. I love eating ice cream that I know is nourishing me, rather than, oh shoot, like this is actually not good for me, but it tastes so good. You don't have to make that choice. You can have something that tastes that good and does your body a lot of beneficial, amazing things to protect you.
Absolutely.
So I'm in this to not age fast, to not get disease, to not have any health issues. I'd much rather spend my money on food than medical bills.
Absolutely. And also you're living, fear is not good for people's health. And when you eat this way, you're living without fear of disease because you know your body is protected. So the Nutritarian is a person who's excited about life, passionate about their life, and passionate about enjoying life without having to be sick and without having to be fearful of getting sick.
Yeah.
Can you imagine living a life conventionally where you're always afraid of dropping dead or getting a serious illness and worrying about doctors and hospitals and medical care and drugs? I mean, who would want to live like that?
Yeah, and then drugs cause constipation and a whole other slew of problems that I've heard people complain about too. So it's not like they just magically work and help people. There's side effects that suck. For me, I never want to stop being outside. I think being a part of nature, like I'll even feel, if I get tech neck, I even feel just when I go for my walks or runs, like my whole body loosen up and really come alive. Even out of the kitchen, I never want to give those things up, those healthy lifestyle things that are such a big part of my life and that give me true happiness.
Right. I'm agreeing that this way of living and eating is a blessing that adds to our lives, quality of our life, where people, the other side, the people who think, oh, I couldn't eat that way. I'm going to give up all the things I love.
Yeah.
We're actually feeling that we're getting greater pleasure from living.
Right.
More gratitude for the beauty of the food and the goodness it does to the inside of our body. And our taste muscles are enhanced from our good health. And we're actually enjoying food more than we think other people who are food addicts and are just...
Definitely more than they'd imagine. Yeah. I definitely enjoy my food.
And then when you eat raw vegetables like salad, again, raw carrots, raw beets, raw snow pea pods, all those calories are not biologically accessible. When you cook food, you make it more biologically accessible, the calories more absorbable. So when you cook the carrot, you enhance the caloric absorption. When you cook the beet, you enhance the caloric absorption. Now, there are other foods that are cooked, like mushrooms and eggplant and peppers and cauliflower that are really so low in calories, and green vegetables, that if you cook them, you still have very low caloric absorption. But I'm mentioning this right now because it's so easy for people to just eat a big salad and some of these cooked vegetables that are naturally low in calories, and they automatically moderately caloric restrict without having to eat thimble-sized portions of food and not having to feel they're on a diet, because they can eat a full plate of food, a robust amount of food.
And feel satisfied, not have to go hungry.
That's right. And they're still having the desserts. They're still having the fat with the meal.
They're having a 3-course meal.
They're having, three-course, right. They're having a full...
While they're losing weight. And we've seen this time and time again at the Eat to Live retreat.
Do you know what happened today?
What happens?
Rob, I can mention his name. He's been there. He'll be there 3 months in a week. So he's like 5 days short of 3 months. He broke 100 pounds of weight loss in less than 3 months. Can you believe that? 100 pounds of weight loss in less than 3 months? We gave him Erin, our nurse, brought him balloons, big helium balloons that said 100.
That's
we
so
took pictures of him with 100 pounds. He was hoping to lose 100 pounds. So
I knew this was his goal. He told me that this was his goal and it was going to happen.
And I was saying to him, Rob, don't care about how much weight you lose. It doesn't matter how much weight you lose.
And he's like, I'm going to lose 100.
Lift 50 pounds. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as you keep it going when you go home. It doesn't matter how much you lose here.
Right. You don't care how fast they lose it. You just want it to be steady till your body reaches the weight it wants to be.
Right. I want him. So he's been here almost 3 months. So he is so loving eating this way. And he's not restricting his amount of food he's eating.
And that is super important, not only for our sanity. It's super important, not only for our sanity and our mental health and also how we're feeling during the time, But even after, years after, that affects us because people that restrict too much or do a diet are have to be super aware that you do not want to restrict too much to then start yo-yo dieting. Restrict so much that you come off of it and you're like, I need food, I need extra calories, and kind of go a little overboard.
That's so important what you're saying right now. It's such an important point for people listening to know that when you try to cut back on calories too far, and that could be water fasting, it could be juice fasting, it could be intermittent fasting, you can't live on a fast. You can't live on a 500-calorie diet.
That could change everything when you stop.
Yeah, it slows down the metabolism too much. And now it drives people emotionally to want to overeat when they're done. And it discombobulates the apostat in the central nervous system. They lose control of their apostat. So now it makes it more likely they're going to overshoot calories, and their calories are not going to match where their metabolism is. And they're going to start a cycle of gaining weight again and losing and regaining. And overweight people, especially with food addiction, should not be yo-yoing onto these extreme diets, the extreme calorie restriction. And we see that. So I used to have a fasting house when you were a kid. You used to come to my rounds to my fasters, right?
I was gonna ask about your take on fasting.
You used to be in the bed playing cards with the people in my fasting, right?
Yeah, the background there is that my dad had a fasting house. It was a great old house, and he would bring me around, and he was meeting the patients. And some of these patients played the guitar and taught me how to play the guitar, were really funny and told me jokes. I mean, this house, although it sounds like they were fasting and not that happy, was kind of full of life. That was actually a fun place and a weird thing to do as a kid, which I enjoyed.
Some of them were eating too. But in any case, the point I'm making here is that, sure, I can use fasting judiciously and appropriately when it's needed to get rid of
specific health concerns.
Right, asthma, lupus, things when we want to utilize it as a tool to get rid of people's disease. But not for people with general diabetes and high blood pressure and overweight, because then it just exacerbates their condition, because you follow those people a year later. Mm-hmm. Look at all the people. They're heavier than they were before they started fasting. And it may have taken away their diabetes and their high blood pressure.
Isn't that more dangerous than never losing the weight to begin with?
Yes. What affects your long-term health the most isn't how much you fasted. It's how consistent your weight has been in the most favorable range for the most number of years of your life, right?
Really?
So the ideal thing, what we want to have happen, is a person gets their ideal weight at a reasonable rate. And once they're there, they stay there for the rest of their life. That'd be the best thing.
Yeah.
If they lose weight fast and go back up again and lose weight and keep juggling their up and downs, then they're not going to have great health. And when you calorically restrict too far, a few things happen. We mentioned one is it slows your metabolism down too slow now. We talk about moderate caloric restriction because we want moderate slowing of the metabolic rate. We want the metabolic rate slower, but only moderately slow. Moderately slow means you're lowering body temperature, you're lowering thyroid function, you're lowering the respiratory quotient, you're actually slowing the rate at which you're aging. But extreme caloric restriction, trying to get all that anti-aging stuff to happen too rapidly, you're not going to be able to. It bounces back with a desire in the brain for the dopamine receptors to be more hyper excitable, to then want to overeat and to gain back what it was missing. And this person who's like attuned to emotional overeating becomes more emotionally overeating, more consumed with food, more they can't get food off their mind. They can't even think about anything else but eating. And their whole life becomes consumed with food because they over-constricted calories. You know what I mean?
So I've seen that happen. Do you then recommend slowly making changes, or more so focusing on not restricting too far? Like what's the best way to lose weight for a person?
Well, I call it a Nutritarian diet, just to keep that clear.
I walked right into that one.
Yeah, right. Because it's been designed over the years from, to give you all the qualities of all the best foods that give you the most beneficial bacteria in the gut, the most angiogenic properties, the most anti-cancer properties, and the most desire to suppress appetite, and to give you the most feeling satiation with the more food. All these factors are considered. So there's, like I'm saying right now, bragging in a way and saying that there has to be one gold standard, one diet that's very best. And to say, well, that's my idea. That's what I think I've come to. And that any other diet is somewhat missing in one element a little bit. So just go for the Nutritarian diet. And the closer that you would adhere to it, the better results you get, without having to excessively caloric restrict.
Right. And that's where eating the Nutritarian diet for almost my whole life, I am basically your test tube baby. But I I do some things a little different. I have my own spin on it. We have different favorite foods and stuff like that, but I certainly eat my G bumps every day. And right, that's really my point in this episode, and that I want to bring to people's attention is that I do not feel restricted, and I feel like so satisfied, and I don't have great willpower around food. I want to eat what I want to eat, but I'm lucky because what I want to eat is the healthy foods. They're what I choose to eat. It's like a marriage that I just went into with them, and I really feel that it doesn't leave me feeling anything but satisfied. So that's cool.
Right. And I'm saying it gets so much easier for people to lose weight successfully for the long term if they inclusively put these foods into their diet. It's not like just cutting back on food. It's, did you have big enough salad? Did you have, like, how much lettuce did you have in there? Because lettuce is important. Lettuce is sulfoquinavose. It's an important food. Did you have the nuts and seeds in there? Did you have the mushrooms and the onions in there? Did you have the
beans,
the flax, the chia seeds, the beans? Did you have the cooked green vegetables and the raw green vegetables?
I mean, these are so many foods that truly suppress our appetite.
Did you have enough fruit in there? Did you have enough? So when you're including the anti-angiogenic effects of flax seeds and chia seeds. So I'm saying that I want everybody, even if they're overweight, to have that full half ounce, which is a tablespoon of flax seeds and chia seeds with at least one of the meals. Mm-hmm. Then they have another meal where they can have another half ounce, because I'm recommending people who are overweight have at least a half ounce of nuts and seeds with each meal. That's an ounce and a half a day total. Now, a male could have 2 ounces, but between 1.5 and 2 ounces. But I don't eat that amount of nuts and seeds myself.
Me either.
You don't either. I try to go for like 3 to 4 ounces. Mm-hmm. So I'm like more than double that amount. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just because they're overweight. It's easier to say, well, at least a half an ounce.
Yeah.
At least an ounce and a half. Because that's the level in the studies that show that have the most longevity and the most benefits against cancer are people who actually put an ounce and a half or more in their diet.
Yeah, I truly don't think about how many I have that much. I'm actually trying to eat them with every single meal. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, I have to have my flax and chia for breakfast. And then for lunch, it's always a dressing with nuts, because I really love a creamy Caesar. So I love the fact that I could add cashews and almonds into my salad dressings and really create a rich salad dressing. And then I'm having them in my dessert. I try to eat them at dinner. I don't eat nuts and seeds out of the bag. Yeah. But I'm always trying to throw them in there, and my weight hasn't moved. It's really hard to move your weight, I think, once you've been at your weight for a really long time. And so I see almost how you're
at your set point.
Yeah, I'm at my set point, and it's really nice that, and I wasn't always. I actually I started practicing, which I want to ask you, more of intermittent fasting. When I did that, I found myself eating too much when I started my first job.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I was eating a huge salad, and I would have a little bit of bread on the side and stuff like that. I think I was 22, and we started learning, and you started learning more about intermittent fasting, and I just decided to scale back my salad a little bit and stop eating a little bit earlier. And I lost 10 pounds without even batting an eye or trying to do anything different except those 2 small changes. So that's when I really started noticing that small changes can lead to such big results.
Absolutely. Let me just define for people what they're saying, this term intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. It's not the type we're recommending where people eat a 500 calorie day and then for 2 days in a row and then go to 1,000 calories or take 500 or fast 1 day a week. Or it's not intermittent fasting. Our way of doing it is trying to finish dinner early and not eat 4 hours before bedtime.
Yeah.
So it's just stack your calories early in the day, and don't eat a lot of calories at night, and don't eat before bedtime. Don't watch TV and watch movies in bed at night and eat food. Finish dinner early and give yourself 4 hours before you go to bed.
I wanted to ask you this too. I know you're not really pro snacking either, but if that's during the eating window, does it really matter?
It doesn't matter that much, especially if you're hungry. Mm-hmm. But we want the calories stacked earlier so that when you get to be like 6 o'clock at night, 6 to 10 o'clock at night, if you overate and ate too much food late at night, you could still feel that you're digesting food when you go to bed at night.
Oh, yeah. For me, it starts coming up and I start burping.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
For me, I felt like, yikes, I can feel I'm still digesting. I overate. Mm-hmm. So I overeat sometimes. And I have to say to myself, I ate too much at dinner. Because I should be in bed night. I shouldn't feel I'm still digesting food. When you're lying down on your stomach, you should feel you're finished digesting for the day. So it's better to snack if you're going to snack your calories early in the day and go to bed on an empty stomach. But snacking is usually, to so many people, and it really is recreational eating.
Mindless.
They don't need to eat that food. Mm-hmm. They're better off sticking to 3 meals a day. Right. And 3 meals a day that are close to each other, like 8 in the morning and 12 noon and 5 o'clock. You're eating almost every other hour. You're eating so frequently as it is. You don't need to snack.
Especially me, if I'm cooking or something, I'm like, not again. But already.
There's plenty of food, 8 to 12 and 5. Yeah. You stack. That's already snacking.
But your number one ask for people is that they stop eating 4 hours before bed.
Correct.
And it's true. I mean, we're joking, talking about, oh, we overweight ate. It's not a weight loss thing or anything like that. It's just us talking about the fact we don't feel as good. You're going to bed, your stomach's rumbling. For me, I'm burping. People are like, stop burping over there. And I'm uncomfortable and don't sleep as well. And that for me is enough to make me not want to do it.
And it fits with the science. And the science says that we detoxify and heal most during sleep. And to live longer and to have the maximum anti-aging phenomenon going on, we want to not have food in the stomach and food in the digestive process while you're sleeping when all the anti-aging biochemistry is taking place in the body. So you maximize the anti-aging effects of sleeping when you're not digesting food at the same time.
Right.
So that's why we're trying to get the maximum benefit from your from sleeping. And you sleep better too. So, you know.
Yeah, I feel like people ask so many questions about our diet style and eating this way and the whole nutritarian lifestyle. And sometimes I just want to say, don't overcomplicate it. Mm-hmm. Eat greens, eat berries, eat fruit, eat nuts and seeds, eat vegetables, raw and cooked, and don't eat 4 hours before bed.
And eat some edamame too.
Yeah, love edamame.
Edamame, just I didn't want to leave that out.
Highlight. Because
another food that has anti-angiogenic effects, high in protein that maintains muscle and bone mass with aging, and has appetite suppressing effects as well. So if you put the diet together with the right foods, I
forgot mushrooms. Don't forget mushrooms.
Well, you said it earlier.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
All right, G-bombs.
The right foods leads to you consuming the right calories and getting the right outcomes.
Right. So sometimes, I mean, so many little things. Can I do this? Can I do that? I'm like, don't overcomplicate it. But at the same time, I know there is interesting facts about certain foods. Like you don't want to eat too much raw spinach. You don't want to eat raw mushrooms cooked or in much better form. Right. So there are little tweaks that are kind of interesting. But for the most part, it's pretty simple. It's pretty eat your G-bombs, eat these healthy foods.
It's pretty simple. And you know, it's not...
you don't have to think too hard.
No, you don't have to be obsessed and be crazy. But being a health nut as a hobby is fun. Mm-hmm. It's fun because it gives you...
You used to get offended when I called you a health nut.
It gives you confidence in life.
Yeah.
It gives you a degree of security.
Security, for sure.
It gives you security.
Yeah.
It enhances your pleasure of living. Mm-hmm. And you feel like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, I'm really not scared of future disease. I really am confident there. And that does give you a sense of security that
it gives you confidence in other aspects of your life too.
Oh, you think?
Pride and confidence. Mm-hmm. Because you know, so I'm saying that it's such a positive thing where people just generally look at being a health nut as being a negative thing.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I'm proud of the way I am. I'm not, because I'm different from other people. It's not, it's like go to a bar, you have to drink alcohol. Well, they're the people drinking. I'm maybe look abnormal, I'm not drinking, but I'm the one who's normal. They're the ones who's not normal. I'm the one not using the cocaine. I'm the one not smoking the cigarettes, and I'm the one not putting junk food and being self-destructive to my own health.
But you do have to be confident, because I mean, you're an incredibly confident person, but that not being a part of the group when everyone else is doing something takes confidence, and that takes practice.
And a lot of self-esteem, which we'll have to go on and talk about another podcast.
You know we will. Okay. Wait, no, but one thing before we wrap up, I wanted to talk about, because this has been a concept, I don't know why it resonated with me so much, but years ago, it could be always over a decade ago, I was saying, does it matter if a little bit of salt gets in my food or a little bit of oil? Like, how bad is it if I wanted to cook with a tablespoon of oil? And instead of telling me what to do, you said, look, it's all about your pack years. Can you explain to them the concept of pack years?
Sure. It's that something becomes more dangerous the more chronically you use it for years. And the amount you use it, and so if you smoke cigarettes, if you're smoking a pack a day for 30 years versus 2 packs a day for 40 years, the 2 packs a day for 40 years is 80 pack years. Just like with salt intake. If you say 1,000 is a safe level or below, well, if you have 2,000 a day, or 3,000 a day, or 4,000 a day,
and you do that for the next 10 years. For
the next 10, 20 years, you're creating more inflammation, more stimulation of reactive oxygen species.
Right.
And we're talking here about SOS, ages the body, creates more reactive oxygen species, causes inflammation in the endothelial lining of blood vessels. SOS means sugar, salt, and oil.
Right.
So we're trying to get people do the right things so they lose their desire to do destructive things. And of course, occasional use. If you occasionally smoked a cigarette, it wouldn't kill you either. Right. But the problem is when you occasionally have a drink or occasionally smoke a cigarette, those people are then excited to smoke more and drink more.
Their pack years increase.
So they're better off just getting them out of their getting them out of their mind, getting them out of their environment. So they're not driven to overeat on those things or even consume them.
Right.
But I'm saying I want to just hit home this idea that us nutritarians are psychologically, intellectually, and emotionally normal. And being
everyone besides me, right?
Yeah. And like being a radical health nut doesn't mean that you're not too extreme.
Mm-hmm.
It's the rest of society that's too extreme.
Right.
Just because we're not in the majority. You know what I mean?
What's that famous quote by you? You said, I think you said amputation for diabetics is extreme, not eating a Nutritarian diet.
Yeah, I don't remember these things I said, but I must have said cutting your leg off and having your foot amputated, that's extreme.
Right.
You know?
Totally.
And
this stuff resonates with me. I like it too because people my whole life have been talking about the way I eat. I'm confident. I don't think it's a big idea. I don't think it runs my life at all, but people that never see it can't understand it. It confuses them. And that's actually what makes it a little fun. Yeah. It's more fun when they ask questions and we get to talk about it. But yeah, sure. I definitely feel good about it.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We're wrapping this up.
Yeah. That was fun. We have some good other stuff to talk about too next time.
Okay.
Not bad.
All right. Good luck, everybody.
See ya.